everyone and welcome to another episode of Rift News, the show you most likely decided to watch because you saw the L in the title. And yes, I can confirm, we are going to talk about an L, which is actually a W. Normally, we would start with what is happening in League, but we did actually get some news about Project L. So that's what we are starting with. Because it is EVO week full of fighting games glory, after 8 months Riot came up with more news about their fighting game. This time it means a new video and a dev post. The video only has 2 minutes and it doesn't tell us much, but there is one crucial information. It starts by showing us some of the new models for their fighters, mainly this is Ahri and Echo. Then Tom Cannon talks about what they revealed 8 months ago, which is the new core gameplay and the art style. And then he got to talk about what's coming next. We learned that they are finishing on their core game mechanics. By this they mean the double team champion fighting, and a lot of the devs moved onto other parts of the game. Stuff like building new fighters, preparing competitive play, and even the social structure. Here he added that they are making sure anyone can play, no matter where you live or what your skill level is. This is big because for fighting games, they are usually hard to pick up. But then he mentioned that how much money you have won't matter either. Because yes, it is going to be free to play. But there is more. Their simple take on this is that they are all fighting game veterans and they all think the same thing. If they wouldn't like it, they wouldn't do it. So even the monetization shouldn't be bad. In fact, Tom said that they will try to be respectful of both your money and time. Now, because he mentioned time, this pretty much confirms that Project L will behave exactly like Valorant or League. You play to slowly unlock new fighters, but you can also pay to unlock them instantly. Also, this was not confirmed, but because it's free to play, I assume there are gonna be skins. Lastly, he mentioned that they also released a new post where they talked about the latest fighter for Project L, Illaoi. So now, let's dive into the post. Here we are getting similar info to what we get from League's developers. The fighters in Project L follow the same DNA structure as champions in League. This means that the core of a fighter is design, narrative, and art. As mentioned in the post, Project L will have beefy juggernauts, powerful mages, agile assassins, and so on. So they have to be picky with whom they bring into the game. And after learning that the narrative director behind Project L is Scott Hawkes, who is also one of the people responsible for the amazing Burning Tides event back in the day, it is not a surprise that Illaoi is going to hop in. Especially after her great appearance in Ruined King, they knew she would have the fighting character to fit directly into Project L. Funnily enough, when talking about her narrative, they mentioned that Illaoi released 7 years ago. We're getting old. And also that she became a staple of top lane ever since. Now, I'm not playing League that much these days, but I think that's a lie. Though they mentioned that she's been great in both Legends of Runeterra and Ruined King, and that is true. This part of the post then talks about what we already know about. She's from the Buru island that is in the Serpent Isles, she's carrying the Eye of God connected to Nagake Boros, and she's ripping out people's souls to see if they are worthy. After that, the post jumps into the art section. Here we learned that when the fighters are being designed, they have to take one of 2 paths. Either they could use an upgrade and there will be small changes, like what happened in Ruined King, where pretty much every character was improved. Except for Braum, he's awesome anyway. Or the champions are good enough and they will stay nearly identical. And according to Riot, that's where Illaoi belongs. Her design is good, so she will be nearly the same in Project L. Big muscular woman carrying an idol of a god. Even in the concept art, you can see that they were maybe thinking about changing her boots and maybe a bit of her robes, but that would be pretty much all. And they also gave us a small concept of her moves. And of course, it is all based on real references. Lastly, the post jumps into game design. The TLDR is, despite Illaoi using magical tentacles, Illaoi is still the main fighter. So the point is not to make Illaoi a zoner or a puppet master and let her use her tentacles from a distance, but rather to allow her to get close and fight. The tentacles would only be a supporting aspect. At the end of the post, we also learned one thing. There will be another update on Project L before the end of the year. We know November is usually a really good month for Riot, so that's when I would expect it. But that's it for Project L, so now, on to League. In League, the second half of Star Guardians is still going on. We had a look at all of those skins last time, but Riot also gave us posts talking about how they made the new Star Nemesis skins. Specifically, it is focusing on Fiddlesticks and Morgana. When it comes to Fiddlesticks, Riot knew that people would be surprised about him. But with the power of a good story, they made Fiddlesticks work in the universe anyway. But since Riot is describing the story of Fiddlesticks here, be aware there are spoilers for Star Guardians here. As was mentioned in the post, we learned that Fiddlesticks is actually a fallen Star Guardian called Harp. Harp was a girl who was Zoe's best friend, but she's also the reason why Zoe went crazy. And the post also confirmed that what Fiddlesticks is what every Star Guardian will become after they fall. The post then goes even deeper into spoilers, so we'll skip it for now. But just know that despite his odd appearance in this universe, Fiddlesticks fits in quite well. And once again, it is all because of the good story. And then the post talks about Morgana. At first it explains who Morgana is. She is a villain in this universe by night and a minimum wage teacher by day. And it also explains how she's trying to convert all Star Guardians into darkness. Then the post explains how they made Morgana look like a villain in hiding. You can see it in the color palette that has both bright and dark colors, with the bright colors making her seem like a Star Guardian, the dark colors being her true side, and the whites represent the disguise of her day job. Also, her belt is a bunch of trophies from her victims. And then they briefly talk about her abilities. Here you learn exactly what I mentioned in the last episode of Rift News. Because people often use her Q and W together, you can actually see that the W reflects an image of her Q. And lastly, they end the post by mentioning that they always knew that Fiddlesticks could fit in this universe, but they had to be careful to not spoil the story through his design. The same went for Morgana. And they were confident that their story would fit into Another Sky, because this chapter of the Star Guardian story is about generational trauma, which gives me the feeling that the finale of the story is not gonna be that nice. After all, we all know who directed it. But that's it for the Star Guardian post too. We could also mention that with the second half of Star Guardians, there is also new merch, which comes in with 2 new statues priced at $400. These are for Zoe and Jinx. And on top of that, there is also a new statue of Zyra. This one is priced at $900. But to be fair, this one actually looks like really high quality. So if you're a collector and you also like Zyra, there's something for you. I'm not sure if those two demographics overlap. And lastly, there is also a new Star Guardian Secret Labs below. But this takes us to PBE, where we got something magical happening. Monster Tamers arrived. In case you don't remember them, they are the losers from the skin polls. The original concept was champions with companions. Kinda exactly like what Star Guardians already are. And the concept showed us Ezreal and Janna, both of whom are Star Guardians. That's why Riot did something better. They obviously took inspiration from Pokemon, and it worked. I genuinely believe this is an improvement over the original. So let's start with the weaker skin, Lulu. This one is fine, besides the fact that she looks exactly like Killjoy. She has electric abilities because she is training electric Pokemon, and those abilities actually carry the skin. They are awesome, I just wish the base model had a bit more to it. Though I can't deny she looks exactly like a Pokemon trainer would. Her opponent is Vigar, who is throwing around ghost Pokemon. I think it's safe to say the inspiration is undeniable. The models here are great. He even passively has one of the ghost Pokemon on his staff. And the abilities are awesome too. Overall, I just have nothing bad to say. And finally, then comes the best skin, Kog'Maw. This is just pure genius. Not only does the model look like a legit Pokemon, but it also has 90s anime style sound effects, and the abilities are gorgeously animated. And the best detail is, he has the classic Pokemon swirly eyes when he faints. This is just incredible. Of course, all of these will also have their own chroma versions, all of which give the base skins a new character. And lastly, we can mention that each of them will also come with their own icon and an emote. But there is also the Brazilian 10th anniversary event. So over on those servers, they will have their own icons based on Brazilian memes, and also some new emotes also based on memes. Then when it comes to League, there is one last thing to mention. Riot also gave us a post where they described how they made the theme for Belveth. And from this entire post, I want you to remember one thing. They took the sound of someone's grumbling belly, then they took a synthesizer and combined the two into this. So the next time you hear Belveth, remember where the sound came from. But that's it for PBE. Well, not really. Because TFT got brand new little legends based on the summer event. Now look, I know that most of the summer events are already over, but these look quite good. Of course they are based on Aoshin and Umbra, but I love how they just turned Umbra into a shark. And remember that both of these dragons play guitars, so I am expecting some summer tunes to be played. Though I do like the more serious little legends, so these aren't really for me. But that's it for TFT. Unfortunately, we talked about all the Legends of Runeterra and Wild Rift news last time. But that leaves us with Valorant. There, data miners found 2 new leaks inside the files, so they are not really leaks. But if you want to avoid Valorant leaks that talk about skins and game features, feel free to just go away. Anyway, first of all, there is a mention of Reaver 2 in the files. Knowing how popular the original Reaver skins were, this one is gonna be big. But more importantly, also in the files, they found a reference to emotes. These make you unable to move as you floss, I guess. Now, despite the cartoony style, Valorant always had a bit more mature audience. In most cases. So the introduction of emotes right now has mixed reactions. Personally, I think it's gonna be fine, but I am afraid of the fact that the majority of these emotes will be used as toxic taunts. So Riot, be careful with these. But that's it for this episode of Rift News. For what seemed to be a slower week, it surely turned into something great, with Monster Tamers being a nice surprise, and Star Guardians being still fine. But most importantly, we learned about Riot's biggest L, which is actually a W.